Here we are. Happy Halloween. Shrek coming at you live about calculus here, antiderivatives. So here's your review of definite integrals. So a definite integral is part of the fundamental theorem of calculus. It means you have bounds connected or limits to your integral. And so sometimes you have to graph it, and sometimes you do algebra to solve it. So in this case, there's no algebra here. We need to graph it. If you ever want to know how to find the vertex for an absolute value, whatever's inside the bars make equal to 0, and then solve it. And if you want to know the y-coordinate, you just plug that back in for x. Oops. Plug that back in for x. So negative 2 plus 2, and that also gives you the y-coordinate. So your vertex is at negative 2 and 0. So we go to negative 2 and 0. Now, we're going to be graphing from 0 to 3, but I just wanted to make sure that I know what the picture looks like a V. So if I plug in 0, the answer is 2. If I plug in 3, the answer is 5. And I'm going to connect that together. Now, now we want to find the area under this. That's what a definite integral means. So from 0 to 3, what's this area? Sometimes it's going to be a triangle. That would be half the base times the height. But sometimes it's a trapezoid. So in this case, for a trapezoid, to answer the question, I need to know the area of the trapezoid. And so the area of the trapezoid is 1/2 the bases, which in this case are, this is a base and this is a base sticking up. So that's 2 and 5. So then we add them together. And then we multiply times the height, which is really, it's on its side. So the height here would be the distance between the bases. So 1, 2, 3, that's 4. Right? No, 1, 2, 3, that's 3. And then we put it all together. So this is 7 times 3. And you could write it as a fraction or as a decimal. And the answer is there, 10.5. So when you see absolute value, we're going to have to graph it. Number 2. How about an algebraic situation? So how would I take the answer? So step 1 would be to do the antiderivative, which means I add 1 to the exponent and divide. Now I'm not going to go plus c. Instead, we have limits or bounds from 1 to 4. I'm going to simplify this. This is just x squared minus x. And then we substitute in the top limit first. Subtract. We plug in the bottom limit next. And then solve it. So 16 take away 4, 1 take away 1. So altogether this answer is 12. And then we just evaluate that. Make sure we put parentheses here and get both answers and then subtract for the last step. All right, number 3, what would happen if you had trigonometry? So step 1 in trigonometry, again, is the antiderivative. We need an x there. And the antiderivative of cosine is sine. Again, we don't go plus c when it's a definite integral. And then we substitute in. So we plug in 1 first, minus, and then plug in 0. I need to know my unit circle. So sine 1, sine 0 is 0. I don't know what sine 1 is. It's just sine 1. If this was an angle, like pi over 2, then I could do it. Why don't I do it that way? That way it was going to look like what your quiz is going to look like. So pi over 2. So if it was pi over 2 is at the top of the unit circle. And the y-coordinate at the top is 1. So it would just be 1 take away 0, which is equal to 1. All right, last question here. If I give you the derivative, and I give you a point, could you find a value later on in the function? And how would I do that? So step one is to do the antiderivative Well, here, step 1, let's set it up. So if I want to find the value at f at 4, I take the y coordinate that I'm given, which is 1, and I add it, and I integrate the derivative from the x value. So from 3 to 4, I integrate the derivative, 2x plus 3. And then this is what's going to answer the question. So now I'll do the antiderivative. So the antiderivative here is x squared divided by 2 is just x squared, 3x. And that goes from 3 to 4. So do the antiderivative from 3 to 4. Next, I'm going to plug in 4. I'm going to get an answer, subtract, and then I plug in 3. And then I get an answer, and then I put it all together. So let's try to do this. 16 plus 12 minus 9 plus 9. So 28, take away 18, and then add it together, and then you found what f of 4 equals. So you start with what you're given. You integrate from the x coordinates of what you're given to what I'm looking for, and then the derivative goes in that integration, and then we evaluate that to get our answer. All right, Mr. G Math, over and out. Till next time.